Dear Black women, want to write yourself an affirmation letter but have questions or need advice? Don't worry, we got you. In this video, we break it down. Enjoy. So let's actually start off with why we're even having this conversation.
Well, I came to DBW3 back in March.
Yes.
And it was my first DBW. And I remember listening to everyone read the letters and reading letters myself and leaving feeling so full, like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. This is amazing. And I went home to sit down and write my letter and realized that I couldn't do it.
Yes.
I felt like I could not. I didn't know how to affirm myself. I didn't know where to get all of these wonderful things that I read on paper at the circle. And yeah.
And I remember on my side literally getting texts from you that start off with flow. And I'll be like, Sha. And it was you communicating just how nerve-wracking the practice of like writing a letter was for you.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, wow, like that's real. Like someone can really feel anxious about it and not sure what to do. We got to talking and it became clear we should just talk about it on camera for those who might feel the same way.
Exactly. So this is for us.
This is for us.
For us by us.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go all the way back.
Okay, girl.
Picture
yes.
it, you know?
Yes.
Young Florence. Or maybe it was still just a few months ago. Who knows? Younger than today because it was before today. Anywho. And you're sitting down and you're writing your first letter. What brought you to that place? Where were you?
My first affirmation letter.
Yes.
So I had been writing in journals since I was 9. Since I was 9. So I can't be sure the first time I actually wrote a letter that I would say was an affirmation letter to myself. But I do know it's been about 2 years where I've been conscious of doing that and really making a point, especially at certain junctures in my life, like every birthday, I write myself a birthday letter.
Really?
And I'll write it for myself the next birthday to open. So there are things that I've been doing around that for at least 2 years, maybe a little more. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So, well, what prompted you to start that intentional, like, this is an affirmation letter for me?
Yeah.
What did you experience? Was there a therapist that you worked with? Was there a show, a conversation you had that prompted you to say, hey, I'm going to sit down and affirm myself?
Just being a Black woman going through shit.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's so many ways that we get messages that say, we're not worthy, we're less than, we're not invited, we're not expected, we're not anticipated, we're not valued, we're not seen, we're not heard. And it's not always someone who's screaming at the top of their lungs.
Yeah.
It could just be microaggressions in the workforce, super subtle. It could be a side or comment from a teacher or a classmate. It could be in relationships. It could be even in friendships. And I know for me, it got to a place where I had felt overwhelmed, inundated with these messaging. And I knew inside that there was negative self-talk that I wanted to correct. And I just was like, this could be one of many tools. Like, let me just write myself some affirming words and see how that makes me feel. And I think that was the way I came about intentionally, consciously deciding, I'm going to not just do this once, I'm going to be doing this. Like, I'm going to be doing this from time to time.
Yeah. So, given your journey with writing affirmation letters, what would you say is the reason they're important?
Yeah.
Like, why do you feel like you continue that practice and kept coming back to that practice for more and more?
Yeah.
Why are they important?
I think Black women specifically loving themselves is a profoundly revolutionary thing. We come from a long tradition of women who have done this work of being in this world and finding a way to make no way into some way. And I think the act of saying, I'm going to take time to make sure that I say things that I may not be hearing elsewhere, or I may not be hearing it this way, but that I need to hear, does really profound work to say that we're worthwhile, we're necessary, we're important, we're worthy of our stories being said on our own terms. We're worthy of our own truths being memorialized, you know, and kept in a way that can be revisited and studied by ourselves. And I think that is the reason why I think it's such a powerful act for Black women to say, I'm going to write some simply affirming words to myself. It's not just something that you do where it doesn't have an impact beyond that because of so much of what we deal with and what we encounter.
Nice. Okay, so taking that a step back, actually,
Right.
how do you define affirmation? Like,
Yeah.
how do you define it? Like,
Yes.
what is an affirmation?
What is an affirmation? See now, I feel like my mind be wanting to like look up in Webster, like what is
Yeah,
Webster
I
say?
mean that's what. But you're like,
But-
yeah. How do you define it for given this practice?
For this practice,
Yeah.
it's literally anything that says yes to you. Yes to who you are in that moment. Yes to what you need to talk about. Yes to what you might be working through. Yes to what you might be dreaming. Yes to what you might be hoping for. Yes to what you might be overcoming. The form can be remarkably diverse depending on where you're at. But if at the end of the day this is saying yes to you, the reality of who you are and who you may want to be and who you've been, then I think that's an affirmation. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so getting to that point where you're saying yes to you, are there questions that you ask yourself to arrive at that point where I'm saying yes to me? Like, what do you do to prompt that yes to come out, especially if your inclination is no,
Right,
you know?
right.
So how do you arrive at yes?
Right. I think it's a process, and it's not something that is one size fits all. But one thing I do is I try to see what it is that I'm hearing in my mind that's negative self-talk. It could be something that I might be saying in that moment, so I immediately want to do the opposite of that in my life.
Right. Yeah.
Or it could just be, a lot of times negative self-talk has like patterns where it's something that you've been saying because you've been hearing it or you've been being told that.
Yeah.
And so it's like in you.
Yeah,
You know, it's like, this is the here it's going to get.
Right,
Like, dang, it's been around for decades.
Right.
But it's like sometimes I try to tune into what that thing is saying and really try to engage it in a way that's saying the opposite thing.
Right.
You know, affirming me and really customizing the letter to, given what I might be saying to myself that's harmful, customizing it to what I need to say that's healing, that's helpful, that's affirming. Sometimes that's the case. Other times I don't know what the hell to write. And I might just sit down and be like, girl, let's just see what happens and be surprised by what comes out. So those are some of the things that I think about when I'm starting to write, but it's not a one size fits all. It can be different for people, you know? Yeah.
And then you're talking a lot about like negative self-talk
Yes.
that you engage in,
Right.
and or just having a day where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna write. I don't know what's gonna come out, but I'm gonna sit down and write. For a lot of people, that could be a very intimate and sacred thing.
Super intimate.
So, what takes you from that place of doing this for yourself, catered specifically to you and what you need to hear, to making you feel like, you know, I want to share this with somebody. I want to give this to another woman. What brings you to that place, since it is so carefully customized to what you need in that moment?
It's really a good question because I think the answer is counterintuitive, but it's real. I try not to think about anybody else. And my advice to anybody who wants to write an affirmation letter if they haven't, or anyone who has and wants to continue, is don't think about a single person. Make it exactly what it is you need to write, because the intention is to fill your cup and not to be concerned about anybody else's cup, which is something I think Black women in general, and this is of course not speaking to everyone's experience, but all too often we're in positions where we're expected to give and not give back.
Give and give and
And
give.
so it's like,
yeah.
I'm gonna write an
selflessly.
affirmation letter and speak on behalf of all Black women. No, you ain't. The hell you ain't. First of all, you couldn't if you wanted to. Since we're so diverse.
Right.
But also, really, you need to be filling your own cup.
Yeah.
So that's where I try to start. And I don't always do that well, but I try and remind myself, be grounded in that. And that's first. And then from there, it's like, because it is so intimate, I don't have to share.
Yeah.
And the purpose is not to share. The purpose is to be affirmed. And then if I decide from that place that I do want to share, I have the option of sharing anonymously so that it's not attached to me in any way. Nobody got to know my business. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it go real deep and you just like, girl, I ain't trying to have them know that. And then there's the other part where it's like, sometimes I write something, I'm like, that was profound. Like, that was me.
Yeah,
that was me.
Yeah.
So it's first not even thinking about anyone else. And then if I do decide that I want to share, which I do not need to decide, if I do decide, I can choose to share anonymously or share with my name attached. And a lot of what's on our website at dearblackwomenproject.com or at Dear Black Women on social media are women who were not thinking that anybody else will understand what they're going through. And their words, starting with being what they need to hear, ends up having a profound ripple effect where other women are like, girl, me too. Like, how you in my business? How do you know what I needed to hear? But little does the person singing know, nobody was even thinking about you or could even imagine it could speak to you. So while it starts with you, sometimes if you choose to share, it goes way beyond you. But it's always your choice, and it's always about what you feel you need.
And I think that's the thing about reading the letters that make them feel more like a hug. Is like, how are you going through this exact same thing?
Yes,
like, you're saying the words that I wish I could think of, or maybe words that I have said to myself, and just hearing again from you, it's just, because, sometimes as Black women, you need that check, like, I'm not tripping, right?
I'm
like,
wild.
You know what I mean? I'm not crazy, right? It's like, yo, I'm not crazy. Like, somebody else is dealing with this too, and they're thinking about it in the same way I am. Thank you for affirming me in that way. Just letting me know that it's not just me.
And that's like, that is one of the many ways in which the simple act of affirming yourself is revolutionary, because we are in a context where in media, Black women are often disproportionately represented in a negative way compared to any other group. So it's not like it is easy to always see the reflection of yourself in a positive way. So to be able to write something for yourself that starts with you and is about you, but then one of the byproducts is that it says something to some other woman that reflects her in a positive way where she may not have that, that's big. But it starts really, really simply and focused on just you. And then from there, who knows? You know?
Okay, and then you're talking about the letters as a reflection of you in a positive way. So that makes me feel like, is there anything you restrict
Good question.
from your letters? Or is there, are there things that you leave out of the letter to make sure that it is a positive reflection only? Or do you just write and it just comes out positive because you have so much positivity inside?
My feeling on that is, to be very clear, you write whatever it is you need to write. And there is no rule that says that your affirmation letter has to be flowery and warm and feel like a hug and feel like a kiss, There are letters that come through where a woman's talking about profound pain that she's dealing with. There's letters that come through where women are talking about achievements that they've had, or dreams that they have, or failures that they've had. And so they're really, and I need to be clear about this, there is no one way to write an affirmation letter. There's no type of language that is the only language to use, and there's no topic that is off topic. If it's what you need to say yes to yourself, then yes, you write it. That's it.
Okay. So there's no language, there's no topic, there's no length. For some people that can be intimidating, especially if they're approaching this activity for the first time. It's like, okay, you're telling me to write, but you're telling me no topic, you're telling me no language. Like, so it's like, what do you say, or what advice do you have to people who are sitting down for the very first time with absolutely no blueprint whatsoever to write like, what should they do? What should they ask themselves? Like, should they set the mood, dim the lights, play some music? Like, what? How do you sink into yourself in that moment? Because I'm thinking that's what writing an affirmation letter is. It's a little bit of sinking into yourself and seeing like, what's not here? What is here? What spaces do I need to fill? Like, what do you say to people to get them to that place?
There are a lot of things. Some of them I use for myself. Some things other people I've learned have used it. Sometimes it's great to think about given what you are experiencing right now in your life, what would you say to someone you really love? What are the things that you would say to encourage them if they were in the same place that you were in?
Yeah.
And writing from the perspective of you talking to someone else, because sometimes it's easier to give love and affirmation to someone you love versus yourself. And then another thing would be to think about, what is it that I might be struggling with, and how can I take that and say encouraging things, supportive things for myself to navigate that.
Yeah.
You know, another thing would be, how can I talk to my younger self?
Oh.
Can I write a letter to my younger self about things that I've learned?
Yeah, yeah.
Based on my journey?
Right.
Can I write a letter to my older self based on who I hope that she could be? Can I write about achievements that I want to congratulate myself on, or dreams that I want to achieve? These are all different entry points or questions that you can start off with to let the words come. And there's so many other things that I can't even imagine that might help, but these are just some that come to mind.
Yeah, and the one about your younger self is a really good one, because a lot of times as adults, we're still those little girls who need to be affirmed, you know? Before we can fully step into us being this grown adult woman. It's like, that little girl is still inside her, and she still needs to be affirmed. So you can start with her if you need to, and then eventually
I feel like
see where you
adulting
arrive.
is a lie. Like, I just feel like now that I'm officially an adult, I've been an adult for a while now. I feel like I look back at my younger self and I'm like, I thought adults had it all together. I thought they had it all figured out. And they just knew how to lie. That's what it is. Or just put on a facade of knowing things that they may not know. So yeah, I think a lot of us are walking around as kids at heart in certain ways. And so starting there could be a great place for some people.
I think I read something online one day. Someone said you become an adult just to learn that all the adults you were around when you were younger weren't that good at being adults.
Like, for real?
Like, wait a minute.
Adulting is hard as fuck.
It really is. But I also I'm kind of amazed sometimes. So I'm thinking like where I am and imagining like my mother at this age, she had at least 4
It's
children.
real.
So I'm like, how in the world
real.
did she do that? Okay.
And then when you ask them, sidebar.
No, go ahead.
They be like, I just did what I had to do.
Yeah, and it's
a
just
whole
like
other conversation.
Completely different conversation. But I'm just like, whoa, that's real.
It's real.
Okay, so going back to writing this after you're sitting down and you're sinking into yourself and you're gonna write. You're going to write.
Yes.
Right. So what about those people who are like, I'm not a good writer.
I'm not a writer.
I don't like to write. And you want me to write.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people who just don't consider themselves a writer or a particularly good writer?
Yeah.
Like, what do you say to them?
I have a few things. The first is DBW is an affirmation movement for Black women, by Black women. And one of the things that we're doing is writing. Who knows what the future can hold? So for those who are like, I don't write, like I'm not a writer, I don't write, and they will not write, I would say, be encouraged. Come to our website, dearblackwomenproject.com. Check out what other women are saying and get that Black girl love. You ain't gotta write nothing to do that. Or go to @DearBlackWomen on social media and find the words that speak to you and take that. But if it's women saying, I'm not a good writer and therefore I don't deserve to write words that affirm me, I would say that's a lie. It doesn't matter if the grammar's off, if the spelling's off. It doesn't matter if you're not someone who would see your words be worthy of attention. That's all false. Write for yourself. Your words are worthy, however they come out. Your expression is worthy, however it comes out. So that's what I would say to women who are feeling like I'm not a good enough writer to do it. The hell you ain't. You ain't. You know what I'm saying? You absolutely are.
That's what you heard.
That's what you heard.
Right. Okay, so this kind of speaks to my own personal experience. Someone who is not used to the habit of affirming themselves or what affirming words are, where to get them from. I think what took so long for me to get to the point of writing a letter is how, like earlier when I said I got home to do it, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I'm like, I'm gonna avoid that. Like, I'm just not gonna, I don't want to go there. That's so far outside of my comfort zone and where I'm used to being that I would rather avoid it altogether. And I can stay here and take in other people's words, but I don't want to go there for myself, what do you say to women to get them out of that comfort zone of like, no, confront yourself, confront those things that you really need that you're not getting, and figure out how to give them to yourself?
I would say be gentle. I think that you are not alone in that. I would venture to guess most of us do not come from a place where affirming ourselves and knowing what that looks like is easy. I know that many of us may not have had models of what that looks like. And even if we did, I know many of us still are in a space where we're inundated with messaging that says, you still ain't good enough, though.
Yeah. You made it here, but you
got here, but you still, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I almost want to say, be gentle in knowing that you're amongst amazing people who are in the same place, and commit to small acts. It might not be that you can finish a whole letter, whatever length that could be. It could be you literally starting off with saying, I'm going to just put dear whatever my name is, and I'm going to take it from there.
Right.
You know, and then I'll just add like, I love you, girl. And I'm going to see what comes after that. And I'll leave it, and I'll come back, and I'll leave it. Let it be a chance to give yourself chances over and over again until you get to a place where it becomes something you feel even a little bit more comfortable with. Because even just a little bit of more comfort with affirming yourself is worth it. You know? It's not about being perfect with it. And it's not about having it where you're never afraid to do it or you never feel uncomfortable. It's about saying, I'm worth the shot. I'm worth the try. I'm worth the try.
Yeah, definitely. Worth
and
the try.
Be encouraged knowing that other women are trying to figure that out as well. You know?
Okay, so you're sitting down to write this letter.
Okay.
You know that you don't need to restrict yourself in any way.
Yes.
You know that there's nothing that's taboo. You know also that there's no formula for it, you know. You have a few questions that you can ask yourself to prompt some thoughts.
Yes.
But you still don't know what this letter looks like or what it's supposed to be, you know?
It's like,
exactly. So how can you where can you see like a letter that you can actually you know, like okay, but what does the finished product look like? I need to see something. Some people, I know me, I'm like, okay, I still need to see something. Yeah.
I would say you can go to dearblackwomenproject.com, click on share, and you'll be able to see examples of letters women have written themselves, as well as examples of quotes that we've pulled from letters. So that can give you an indication of not only what a full letter could look like, but also what does it look like when a piece of a letter is pulled out and how powerful that can be. Because I think a lot of times underneath all of that is just a feeling of unworthiness. Like, what I have to say is not really important. Or what I have to say won't be something that resonates with other people. But it's like, you really don't ever know. You don't ever know. And so I hope when you go to dearblackwomenproject.com, you click on share, you can see examples of women from places that you can relate to and be able to be like, you know what, that's me. And that's something that I can see myself doing now because someone else has done it. So check that out. That's what I would say. Yeah.
And then even thinking about that, this is also something I think I struggled with writing my first letter. I felt like when I sat, and I shared this with you before, when I sat down to write, I felt like I was unpacking all of these painful and things, and I'm like, is this an affirmation letter? So I'm like, I don't know if this is a place for this or not. Do I need to go to therapy and then come back to the affirmation letter? So are affirmation letters a place to unpack like trauma? Things like that? Or is it something where it's like, okay, maybe work on those in another way and then come to the affirmation letter when you're ready to build yourself back up from unpacking that trauma? What would you say about that aspect
I would say, to be very clear, the work of healing ourselves or working through things we're dealing with requires and deserves as many tools as possible. So no one thing, in my estimation, my humble estimation, is something that has to be a cure-all for everything. Where I see affirmation letters fitting in is in a toolkit that people have with multiple tools in it. And I think we don't need to have less tools. We could stand to have more tools because we deserve it. You know, we deserve it. Some of us also need it. So if the letters are a way for you to not only affirm yourself, but through affirming yourself, really unpack trauma. Let it be that, and that's welcome. That's welcome. But in no way should you feel like it has to be that, or it can only be that. It could be whatever it needs to be for you. And again, if you have trauma that's coming up through the letter writing and you feel like this is something that can help you, then use that. And never feel like you ever have to share it. Never feel like you ever owe it to anyone. It's one of the tools in your toolkit that you deserve.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Okay. So do you have like any last words of advice for all the new and even the experienced letter writers out there? Because there may have been some people who feel like, oh, they need certain language or certain words and it has to be positive. Like, so you have any last words of advice for the letter writers
keep
out
writing,
there?
Girl.
Keep writing. Keep writing. Keep writing.
And also just know that there are countless women who are rooting for you and who are in this movement of wanting to be able to be more affirmed and wanting to share that with other Black women. Like, it never ceases to amaze me how often women will say, you know, I wrote this feeling insecure about writing these things down or not knowing if it was okay to say these things, and then they share it, and you'll see women online being like, girl, like, me too, or on our social media or on our website or at our circles, women will be like, that's my story. So I feel like it's very clear that there's a significant, profound power in doing the work for yourself that doesn't just stay with you, but resonates with other people, not because they even read your words, but filling your cup a little more allows you to be able to give in a way that you can't otherwise give, you know? So regardless if it's people knowing your words, it's like the power of writing and affirming yourself in any way is something that can spread beyond you. And there's so many Black women that I think are doing this, and it's a powerful thing. Yeah, so keep writing.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for not only giving me this words, because these are things that we talked about, you know, all of this in some aspect, but even agreeing to come on this platform to share this with other people, because it's something you've done for such a long time. You may have felt like, wow, there's some people who really sit down and just can't do it, like, because I could not, I didn't even understand it, because I used to always think of myself as, oh, I'm good, you know, like, I'm strong, I got this, I'm all right, I'm good, you know, but I couldn't sit down and tell myself that, explicitly say to myself how good I, you know what I mean, how good I actually am. So thank you for being able to share that, both first with me and then with everybody else.
I think Black women, we come from long traditions of us finding a way and making a way and doing amazing work to make space for ourselves and amplify our voices. And I see DBW as being a part of that really profound tradition where Black women are finding more and more ways to say, I'm worthy and I'm here. And say that in community with other Black women. So it's an honor, it's a gift, it's a joy to have this movement growing. Yeah.
I mean, I would even say that you're an honor, a gift, and a joy to even, you know, I just see you really giving us a gift. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's such a gift. Like, and sometimes, like, when I'm like just walking around, I'm like, okay, how can I, affirm myself right now? Like, what can I say to myself?
It tricks your brain.
It does. And it's, especially when I know I'll be in situations where typically it's like, oh my God, why did you do that? That was stupid. Like, don't do this. Why are you even here? Like, no, you're fine. You're great. You're awesome. You can do this. Like, you have so many people rooting for you, and you're also now rooting for yourself. So it's like, and you handed me that. Like, you literally, I know I told you this before, but I'm sorry. But you literally handed me that. So just thank you. Like, seriously, thank you. And I know there's other women that feel the same way. So thank you from all of us. Thank you.
I'm trying to lean into compliments.
Isn't it such a weird and squirmy
But
place?
this is also thing where I'm like,
squirmy.
I'm conscious that it's squirmy, but I'm like, we gotta
I'm here. Yeah.
But also I would say too, like, that's something I've really started to see where the negative self-talk, which is real as hell, is more and more interrupted now that I've been making it a regular practice to write letters. And sometimes I find you know, I feel like there's a lot of times maybe people can relate where there's background noise in your brain. You're just thinking about things, but it's not in the forefront of your brain. And it's not always positive. But now I find that sometimes I'm actually writing letters to myself in my head. Like it's almost like my brain is starting to think of affirmations more. Like I'm training my brain to have that in the background.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, is this a brain hack or something? Like, that's dope. Like, I like that.
Changing that recording in your mind.
Changing that recording in your mind.
Yeah.
Which is in no way, you know, none of us, I'm not perfect with it. It's a total work in progress. But I think DBW is all about being where you are and that being okay.
Right, yeah.
So there's no perfect that we need to achieve. It's just being able to say, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
Be where you are, and that's okay.
That's it.
That's perfect. Yeah. Okay.
I think with that, bye.